Public Works Committee in Wisconsin Rapids. We're meeting this evening, Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. We're in the first floor conference room at City Hall. It's 6 p.m. We're on time again this month. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Item 2, review the DPW report.
So you've got the report in your packet. We'll get the full report online here soon. A couple highlights, I guess, I'd like to focus on. Buildings and grounds. The generators at Fire Station 1 and 2 are now online. The old ones still need removing, but that's good news. The City Hall's new generator is sitting on the pad out back, and it's awaiting some gas piping and the installation of the transfer switch. There was quite a bit of damage resulting from the storm 2 weeks ago. We've suffered quite a bit of damage at Robinson Park, and some power lines were damaged. They were, I can't tell you today what the condition is, but a week ago they were still damaged, and lower priority because the park's not being actively used, but we're awaiting repair there, and this spring there'll be extensive tree cleanup work in some of those parks, especially Robinson Park. In engineering, we're in the process of continuing to work on a plan for resurfacing, and part of that is right-of-way management rules and degradation fees. We're researching what some other communities do, what some other larger cities do, both in the United States and in neighboring Canada, just to see what type of recommendation to make. So we're working on that as we speak. Our utility pre-construction meeting for our 2019 construction projects is set for March 7th, where city staff will meet with the utilities to discuss the projects and project scopes, project schedules. The tentative 2019 construction schedule for our projects is shown on the engineer's page on the city website. With the stormwater utility and 1 Mile Creek, there's an easement agreement that was mailed to property owners, a draft on October 30th of 2018. There were numerous discussions with property owners over the last several months. A neighborhood meeting was held on February 27th to discuss concerns with property owners. Next step include finding examples of permitted dams, a list of requirements, habitat enhancement options, and communication with the Army Corps of Engineers and DNR. And just to refresh your memory, that project on the 1 Mile Creek by airport, there's a structure, or 2 Mile, I guess. 2 Mile, there's a structure. That structure is not currently permitted, and it's currently privately owned. So there's some potential benefit to the city and to the property owners if the city ends up taking control of that and maintaining it, and it'll be effective towards our credits and reducing phosphorus and sediment. So those discussions continue to see if those property owners are interested in that, and so far the discussions have been very positive. As you all likely know, for streets, most of the month was spent plowing, hauling, and moving snow. We had 10 nights of midnight to noon, and each of those evenings averaged 5,000 to 7,000 yards of snow. And if you haven't seen our end loader snowblower unit that loads the trucks, we can fill a quad axle truck in 35 seconds. We spread about 600 tons of salt and about 230 yards of salt sand over the last several weeks. Last month I talked a little bit about some of the work that our mechanics are doing, obviously keeping all of our equipment in shape for plowing is really important because we do work as a team out there, and if any part of the team isn't working, it does delay the whole project, and the guys have been doing a great job. But in your packet there's a couple pictures in there. You may recollect a few months ago the city replaced an old tractor, an old John Deere tractor that had a 3-point hitch with a broom on the back that we used to broom the pond, with a used mini end loader. And our staff took that old hydraulic broom, fabricated a plate so that it works with the quick attach equipment on that mini end loader, and freshened up that broom. It doesn't look like a 35, 38-year-old broom anymore. It looks like it's brand new. Works great. We also took an old snowplow from one of our 1-ton trucks, did the same thing, cut it off of the frame that it was on, mounted it to a quick attach frame, and now that mini loader works as a snowplow, a broom, an end loader with a bucket, and also we've got a clam attachment for picking up brush and things like that. So that has been a great investment, and really pleased. Since it's slightly used, we saved a lot of money on the purchase price of that. So once again, kudos to the maintenance staff for their creativity and fabrication. With wastewater, the bitter cold temperatures has made it tough for the collection system to operate smoothly. Staff's been challenged keeping the lift stations clear so that they can access and maintain those. There is, since we have our permit for our exceptional quality Class A biosolids, that is available for local residents and companies to utilize as state certified commercial fertilizer. So anyone that's interested can contact Ryan at the wastewater plant, and our goal is to try to find a few local landscapers or someone who's interested in essentially all of it. We'd rather not have people in and out, but we're open to all sorts of ideas at this point, and it is available. Under other, there's a number of meetings and interviews and things like that I attended this last month. But I did want to mention that I did attend with some of you the Chamber of Commerce annual awards banquet, and Mayor Verwink was awarded Citizen of the Year for commitment to the community service, entrepreneurship, and business development. And Jeremy Sickler and the Airport Commission was awarded the Regional Economic Impact Award for the nearly $12 million in successful grant applications and expansion projects at the airport. It's seldom that any government agency would be recognized, by the Chamber of Commerce for those types of activities. So that's really, I think, a proud moment for the city. Also like to mention that Chief Blevins and I made 2 presentations to 4 different 6th grade classes at the middle school relating to academic career planning and cooperative emergency response planning and activities. The rest of the report will be online. So it's winter time, but there's been a lot of work being done in Public Works this last month.
Thank you, Joe. Questions?
Real quick, Mr. Chairperson. Joe, in terms of, you made the comment that the front end loader has got a snowblower attachment that can fill a tandem axle or quadra axle
35 seconds.
in 35 seconds. Do we have enough equipment and or manpower to completely have the dump truck drivers in-house, or are we contracting to haul that away?
So we're working in-house. We have enough drivers to make the rounds right now where that end loader with that blower is not waiting for the next truck. Because not only are we running quads, but we've got a couple tandems and a couple single axle trucks that we're putting in the rotation as well. So, once we get, and that is the case now, downtown, we're pulling snow out of the downtown, we're pulling snow off the boulevards in a lot of the areas, Baker Street, 8th Street, we just finally got finished here the other day, around the schools. And we're working right now primarily on intersections, trying to get corners cleared. We will probably work one more evening shift. Our staff's getting, as you can imagine, kind of tired of swinging hours and working nights and then working days and whatever. But So we're trying to, I think it's in everybody's best interest for us to pull snow during the evening when traffic's light. It's just safer that way. But at the same time, we have a lot of other work that needs to be done with potholes now to fill and that. But we do continue to pull snow. Currently, we're trying to open up vision triangles on our busier streets. And Thursday night or Friday morning, we're going to be pulling some from the East River or West Riverview Expressway to 2nd Avenue and then down 2nd Avenue. So we still are pulling snow off the boulevards, making room in case we have another major event, and doing our best to scratch and get intersections as clear as we can. For those viewing though, we recognize we've got a number of complaints. We recognize that a lot of the local streets are pretty classy, they're rough, they're somewhat rutted. We're working on them the best we can, but people do have to really pay attention and try to slow down because they can be really slippery, and those little rutted areas can surprise you and all of a sudden face your vehicle in a different direction. So it's definitely been challenging, I think, for everybody, and we certainly appreciate the public's patience as we do what we can to clear the streets.
Wonderful, thank you.
And just follow up on it a little bit more. Did we not get on it soon enough that caused all that rutting? Because I've been working down in the town of Rome, and it was amazing between Rapids and Wood County roads were very similar, and then you get to Adams County and they were crystal clear. And I was trying to figure out, did we with that rain and slush, did we miss something there that caused a pileup to what we have now?
So we did get quite a bit more snow.
Okay, I didn't know when.
And we did spend quite a bit of time that Saturday evening before it snowed on Sunday when it was raining. We had staff in, we were having some issues with catch basins getting plugged up.
Oh, yeah.
So we spent a lot of that evening Saturday scratching away, trying to get water cleared off the streets. And according to our policy, our primary objective while it's snowing is keeping those main highways and arterials open. But the sheer volume of traffic, a lot of them, it got packed down, and especially on the local streets, once it got packed down, it's a pretty futile attempt when it got cold. So because we have so many miles of roads, it takes 12 hours to get through and plow. And so the struggle is you can start before the storm's done, but then you're plowing it twice. That's pretty much what we did this time. But it results just from the cars and the amount of traffic resulted in a lot of packing. We struggled. I mean, we were plowing nonstop on 8th Street and the Expressway, and there was 1.5 inches of hard pack. It was so windy and drifting snow. We tried some test areas where we salted the heck out of it, but it was drifting across fast enough where the salt wasn't getting down to the bottom where we could peel it off. So we did try a lot of things and tried to stay on top of it, but we're just kind of the victim of the circumstances. If that rain would have stayed a little further north, I don't think we'd have had quite the situation that we had. And the other issue that kept some of our staff off the streets is with the trees down and the power lines down and all that, we had to send the entire parks group trimming, removing, and that slowed down the plowing operations as well.
No, they worked hard. They put a lot of hours in.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hopefully it's coming to an end.
I think so.
We're into March.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Hopefully. All right, item 3, review proposals for concrete curb and gut and sidewalk.
So I handed out the bids that we received this afternoon for the 2019 concrete contract. We got 2 proposals back, 2 bids back. Pembroke Companies submitted and Chippewa Concrete Services submitted. Both of them have done work in the city in the past, and Chippewa will actually be performing work on the East Grand Avenue project underneath as a subcontractor for the main DOT project. But Pember Companies was the low bid for this contract in the amount of $550,064.03. Chippewa Concrete had a bid of $644,002.50, and took a look at all their documents. They've got everything submitted. So staff would recommend awarding to the apparent low bidder of Pember Companies in the amount of $550,064.03.
I'll move to award the bid to Pember.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I do it, and Joe, as far as with only having a couple bids on here, what are some of the different, or Joe too, either one, it doesn't matter. What are some, I guess, how would I phrase this? What are some barriers for contractors not to want to bid or that can't bid on this? Like, are there smaller contractors that potentially could, or is it because we're not ready for them, or the project isn't ready for them, so they got to come in and come out, so they need a larger crew or a diversified crew, or what would be the reason why we're only getting 2 bids? Are we bidding this out too late? Is this something that we should be doing in January? What are some things that you could recommend to the committee as well as the council that we could do to give you guys the tools so that we can see more contractors on here?
So this is the right time of the year to be bidding these projects. I think typically last year were we in?
Probably in April.
April?
Yeah.
And so that's something that the engineering department's been tasked with, is trying to get these out early, and they met that goal. I think there were a couple of other potential bidders that had pulled plans, and
STL and Becker, they were plan holders. So this list is all the plan holders. Summers Construction, both of them have worked for the city in the past. We did contact them before the bid opening, just to see, you guys, should we expect them to come yet, or what are you guys thinking? And I think STL and Becker, they had a bunch of awards that from the week prior that they were kind of satisfied with the amount of work that they were getting, so they weren't interested to submit at this time. And then Summers contacted them, and we didn't get a reason, just that they wouldn't be submitting. So the other 2, they probably pulled plans just to see what the contract had included, but other than that, we did pull out all of our maintenance work. So all of our sidewalk and curb and gutter maintenance work, we pulled that out as a separate local proposal, and those are currently being looked at by local companies, small companies, and so we thought maybe that would help too, where these bigger contractors, they get in and crank out the curb and gutter and lay down a lot of concrete in a short period of time versus the sort of daily grind of the maintenance work. But
I guess this is more of an arbitrary kind of question for you, each of you, I guess. Is there a market for other contractors to get involved with this? Obviously, if we had 10 to choose from that, we potentially might drive our costs down. But is it just our location? I mean,
amount of work. There's a lot of work out there.
So there could be room for other contractors actually with plenty of work out there.
Yeah, I think what I've seen over the years is the number of contractors, especially smaller contractors that are looking at projects like this, has diminished significantly since 2009. The big contractors are still looking at DOT projects, major reconstruction projects, but this is not unusual. A lot of municipalities see no bid projects, and that's a real problem. That's something that at the Public Works Conference the last 2 years, there's been a full presentation on the fact that that's a problem for a lot of municipalities. The projects that we're trying to do, there aren't enough contractors. There's building projects going on for schools, there's other municipal contract projects. They can afford to be very picky. And because of the finance market being as restricted as it is now, it's challenging for any newcomer to get in the game. It's, just almost impossible. So that way we're fortunate that we have some capacity in-house for our street construction projects. And this is the first year we're trying to pull out our concrete maintenance activities from the general contract. I do think that that's going to be more desirable for the contractors, and it might take a year or two for more of them to figure that out. I also think that, and again, it's intuitive, but I think that our local contractors might be interested in our maintenance projects because they can use that a little more as filler work and keep that work local. So we're going to evaluate that and see how that works and see how successful we are. If it works good, we'll continue doing it. If it doesn't, we'll look at lumping everything back in like we used to.
As far as like barriers, when I use the word barriers, I should use more regulations or whatever. Obviously, we want to have the project done a certain time. We, have got schedules and everything else. Are there creative ways that you have seen at different conferences what other municipalities are doing, or there isn't really room for much creativity anymore?
For concrete work, I'm not sure. In some of the bigger projects, not only will they include a clause for liquidated damages for delays, sometimes they'll include incentives for
Performance possibly, or schedule, if schedule's important, there'll be an incentive. Whatever's important to the owner, and then, financially it's important to the contractor, that you can either get more performance out of them, get it done sooner, or those sorts of things. But
Are there concerns with like a 1-year guarantee as far as those type of clauses go or whatever?
pretty
No.
standard.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from the contractors like, hey, Rapids is, or any rumors that Rapids is hard to work with, or we wish they'd change this, or there hasn't been anything bad that we've heard or come across.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
But we're always auditing, trying to make sure that we're protecting the city's interests while trying to secure good competitive bids.
Sure. Great, thank you.
My question, I was just looking up your Public Works Construction Fund in the budget. What was the line item for all of the concrete?
It'll be in the various projects.
Yeah, so it's not a specific contract line item for our budget purposes, but it's individual project.
I guess the reason I'm asking is, are these kind of like we went through with the asphalt? I mean, is this a situation that the costs are coming in, or the bid is coming in as what you were expecting, or slightly higher?
So our engineer's estimate, we were anticipating a total contract about $482,000. So it's a little over what we were anticipating, and what we were anticipating was what was thrown into the budget through our cost estimates, but not abnormal for any given year. So,
And I think to add what Mr. Graff is saying is that what we're approving is a maximum. If a project doesn't come in, we're not obligated
Correct.
to have that project and to pay that contractor for that particular project.
Right. It's a unit. It's a unit cost contract.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't recognize you with your haircut
Anything else?
and your sweater.
Comments? Committee will vote then. All in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Item 4, review proposals for administration of any hazardous material encountered during the East Grand Avenue project.
So we've got two proposals, got a couple extras here. two proposals here for hazardous material. So there's a few sites along the corridor that the city will be responsible for handling the hazardous material for anything that's encountered for not only the DOT contractor and what they dig up with the storm sewer installation, but also the installation for sanitary sewer and water main. And so the city is going to be installing those, the sanitary sewer and water main, but the DOT contractor will be installing the storm sewer. But in any case, the city's responsible for handling that. We've worked with, so the two proposals we've got back, Robert A. Lee Associates and REI Engineering. We had solicited from 7, I think, total. And some were interested initially, and then as they worked through their schedules, they weren't interested in submitting. But so the nature of the work makes it difficult for them to provide definitive cost for us. And so we tried, what we were asking for was give us your hourly rates and then give us some breakout on what the cost estimates might come to, like on a per incident sort of situation. And so Robert E. Lee gave us pretty close to exactly what we were looking for. Their lump sum fees that they've identified here, and then a per incident cost. So one incident and the lump sum fees comes to almost 10 grand. REI didn't quite give us, they gave us a lot of hourly rates, and we requested some further information, some clarification from them. They gave us some more hourly rates, which it's making it difficult for us to give a good comparison of the two and what our costs might actually be if we encounter things out in the field. Certainly the level of confidence in Robert E. Lee, working with them in the past, and reading through their proposals here, Robert E. Lee had a really strong approach. It gave us a lot of confidence that they knew what they were doing and going to meet all the demands of testing and reporting that were going to be needed for the work. So with that basic information, I wish I could give you a little bit clearer comparison on it, but from a staff recommendation, we'd like to go with Robert E. Lee. We don't have specific funds, like a line item identification. It's all out of the project costs. It's coming from the Public Works Construction Fund for the DOT portion, from the sanitary budget for that project, and the water main budget for that project. And so my recommendation would be is if the committee would approve up to like 20,000, and then that would give us some room to work with as things arise. And then as we approach that, if it looks like we might need additional funds approved, that's something that we could bring back to committee then.
Shane?
Are we anticipating old gas station type thing, or is that what?
Yeah, there's a laundromat and petroleum, also from gas stations.
So we're reviewing this more on a performance basis with projected costs. But again, because the actual conditions in the field won't be absolutely known until the soil is actually exposed, that's the best we can do.
Can you elaborate on this particular project? Either I can't remember, or I don't know, or something. Are we looking at, like for this particular scope, are we looking at just in the public right-of-way? Or if we find that it's on the border of the public right-of-way, then we're notifying adjacent property owners and then they're responsible for that, or how would that work?
So that's a good question. It's going to depend largely on the work that needs to be done. So if we're putting in sanitary sewer out in the right of way and we encounter it, then that stuff that we dig out, we'll have to properly dispose of and report. If we're putting a sanitary lateral or tying in a storm sewer pipe that extends beyond the right of way, but still within the temporary easements that we have for the project, then that cost would also be incurred for the proper removal. 3 of the sites have PECFA funding that's still available, and so that's part of the services that we're asking for. Is if the property owners allow it, in instances like that where the hauling of the hazardous material can be paid for out of the PECFA fund. We just have to get their permission up front.
So we would get reimbursed, obviously, it would be our cost initially, whether it's paying our own public works department or whatever to haul the stuff away. But then we could issue or offer what our costs were and then potentially get reimbursed from that. So what you're asking for tonight is almost an approval to ask finance for a budget amendment of reallocating $20,000. Is that what it is, or?
No, it's already dollars that we're going to expecting to incur
Right.
from the budget. So it's already in the project. The project's already budgeted. We're just looking for specific approval of
A contract for these
contract.
professional services,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially if it's budget. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, it's got to get cleaned up one way or the other if there is stuff. So.
Right.
Well, I'll move for now that we go with the 20,000 that Joe's requested as the limit. You know, if need be, they have to come back.
20,000 not to exceed.
Right, not to exceed.
I second that.
Oh,
That motion include the selection of Robert E. Lee.
oh, yeah, Robert E. Lee. Any other questions or anything by anybody? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor, respond by aye. Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. And all the way down to number 5, review the referral list already.
So 9 and 10 we can cross off. That's the
Yep.
2 items that we addressed this evening. Last month, Alderperson Kellogg referred a neighborhood cleanup program. We're still working on that. We met with Alderperson Kellogg to see some examples of some other projects, so we've got some ideas. We're kind of, you can see the report, we're knee-deep in several projects. The priorities we currently have are completing our resurfacing program to present and bring that back to committee. And I'm currently working with department heads on our capital improvement plan. So those are the top priorities, but this is still a priority. We're working on it. We'll have something before the committee as soon as we possibly can. I don't know if we had any other referrals at this time.
Nope. Lee?
I would like to make a referral to review the de-icing and snow removal policy.
Okay.
It was revised in 84, 89, 95, 96, 97, 08, 10, 12, 14.
Yep.
I just think anytime you have a major event, it's something that we need to take a look at. One thing in particular that was brought to my attention was who's cleaning out the fire hydrants? Who's supposed to clean it out? Is it the utility cleans that out? Is it Public Works Department cleans that out? Fire Department, who's responsible for that? That I think we need to address in the policy. And the other thing is it's not very clearly stated about notifying, not necessarily of the weather service or storm notifications, but I'm talking about who makes that decision, department heads And I guess I would like the policy to read that emergency services would have the ability to contact the street superintendent on call to help them determine hazardous intersections, development out on the street that's happening. And I know we currently do that. I just don't know if it's necessarily defined completely in the policy, and I just think maybe if we take a look
Sure,
at that, make sure.
I
it's
think
in
it
there.
is, but, yeah, in the ordinance, it covers it also. Mhm.
Because I did not see, I had asked for some information about the, all I received is a policy of de-icing and snow removal. So there's an ordinance for that?
There's an ordinance for snow emergency also in the ordinance book.
Okay, are we talking, so maybe we're talking two different things, okay? Are we talking snow emergency or are we talking snow removal?
Both.
Well, I guess my point is that, you know, who makes that decision? Is it clearly defined in the policy?
Well, I think so. I mean, that's how we've been operating, is under the policy, and the police department keeps an eye on the conditions, and if there are slippery conditions, they'll contact the public works superintendent, who will then dispatch staff to take care of those areas. Before any major event, there's also collaboration between the police department and the street department, so that there's an understanding of what the plan is, and that's helpful for everybody as far as potentially tagging cars and things like that, so that, but yeah, absolutely. Paul and I were just talking about it today because there's a few items that aren't in the policy that we would like to discuss and get in front of the committee, so I think it's a great idea.
I'm assuming, looking back at the dates, it was probably somewhat, happened after an emergency, they decided to review the policy, which is no different than the reason I'm thinking we should look at it.
As far as that goes, how does a snow emergency actually happen? Or what is the definition of an actual snow emergency? How is it advertised to the public and or businesses? And then where do you go from there then?
Sure, so that's spelled out in the ordinance, and I'm paraphrasing without actually reading it, I don't have it in front of me, but the mayor or the mayor's delegate can declare a snow emergency, and as well as the police department. And so what typically happens is that between the public works superintendent, Paul Ballard, and the police department, they will work together to declare that snow emergency. It's automatically for 48 hours, but can be shortened. And so what they typically do is they determine at the point when they declare it, if it'll be shortened, and they'll set both when it goes into effect and when it's done. Because we don't want to exclude people from parking on the streets any longer than what we have to. And so, you know, we generally have a pretty good idea, depending on the event, how long it's going to take us to clean up. And, you know, and so we try to coordinate that right off the bat. It is submitted to the paper. It's published on the city's Facebook page. It's also published on the police department's Facebook page. So if people have a computer and follow both the city and the police department, they'll get those notices. And I can't, you know, we send the stuff to the paper as we're required to, but I can't promise that every time they actually get it published. So
This just popped into my head, and the only reason why I know we have an actual cell phone app is because Jennifer notified me or showed me, and I downloaded it. Are we able to get like a push notification through that? And I'm sure that it's, you know, very infrequently, a couple times a year, if that. But
I'm not sure. I think it also does go out through Nixle.
I think I get mine on Nixle.
But I don't know that our app, I'll have to research that.
And that we do it for Nixle, I was unaware of that too. I know that what Nixle is, and I know that Nixle is available, but I didn't know that we did that. So that would be something too that would, you know.
Right, so that's, again, cooperation through our police department and Wood County. Wood County Sheriff's Department, I believe, has the subscription in Nixle. and then they work with our police department and forward that out. So, and that is a subscription-based service, so you can subscribe to certain areas or countywide, but that's another way to get it out. We've been a little hit or miss as far as getting it on the website. Typically what happens is, we declare the emergency, it's a weird time of the day, the guys are focused on doing the removals and are counting on the police department to take care of those other notifications. And so oftentimes we'll not get the website updated to identify the snow emergency, at least on the street department page. So we have been a bit hit or miss on that, and we're trying to figure out how can we still get everything done. That communication part is important though.
Is this the same policy unless I'm reading it incorrectly, or is it an
Nope, that's
actual
it.
ordinance?
Yep, but there's also an ordinance
Okay.
for snow emergencies.
If you could email me that information when you get an opportunity, or if you come across it, because I'd like to review it.
Yeah,
Scott?
that's how I find it.
With regard to the first referral with 8th Street, I participated in a workshop at Stevens Point University 2 weekends ago. It was on a Saturday, and they have an urban study, and they used 8th Street as a capstone study. So what they did is the students that were seniors, they came to Wisconsin Rapids in, I think, 4 groups or 5 groups, but they entered the city from different locations, coming in from Plover, coming in from Marshfield, coming in from Rome, etc., just to get a sense of their first impression of Wisconsin Rapids. And then they had a long, at the meeting, we first got there, and they had each group was sharing what their first impression from the direction that they came in. So you could go to group and you moved around, and they were right on with comments that they made. And then we sat at tables, and I was there, Adam was there, other people, Madeline, some people from the health department sat at different tables, and I would guess the number of students might have been like 30 or 40 students, and they broke up in like 6 tables, and then each table had a section. That group, or the seniors, focused on a section of 8th Street. And so I sat at a section of 8th Street that was from Plover, just the north end of 8th Street, past House School and so forth. And then they were to look at that section and come up with ideas that the city might do with regard to it. Then there's another section, that table talked about that, another section. And then they had table discussions, and they made suggestions right at the table so then you had freshmen there, sophomore there, and juniors that gave ideas to the seniors, and they were writing it on. Then at the conclusion of the morning or afternoon then, they put these maps up on the wall, and then each senior had to explain what they talked about at their table. It was kind of interesting. You get a wide variety of ideas. I mean, these students have been studying urban planning and so forth, and so they come up with maybe ideas that were ambitious that you really couldn't do, but yet it's the idea of what it could be, and you can always scale it back. And it was kind of exciting. So I suspect, and there were 2 professors, and I suspect that they'll be giving us the result of this capstone project to Wisconsin Rapids, and from there we could glean what's practical, work with maybe the stores and businesses along 8th Street to see if we could marry some of the ideas together with what they might do, and businesses working together, landscaping working with a business. But it might be a catalyst to this problem of 8th Street, of just the appearance and other things. And I just wanted to share that with you, and we'll have to just wait for their final report. But it was kind of fun, and it's a progress toward improving that area. So just so you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Very interesting.
Keep us up to speed, or if you
Yeah.
hear something.
It was fun. I felt so old. All these kids are 21, 22, 23, but yet they had great ideas. So you sit there and say, wow, if you had a blank slate, you know, and just say how you could design it, you get, whoa. But maybe we can glean a few good things from there and make a difference.
Cool.
If nothing else, referrals were to item 6 to adjourn. Also move to adjourn.
So moved.
Oops.
Or, I mean,
No, that's all right.
No, it's second. I was just gonna mention that we still got 14 minutes left. So, but no,
Well, we can-
I second that motion,
Go off
Mr.
next
Chairperson.
month's agenda or something. All right, we got motion second to adjourn. All in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you. We're adjourned at
That's interesting, Scott. I'll be curious to see that.
Yeah.